Witchers, welcome back to the Witcher Lorecast. This is your host, Tom, or Robots, and I'm here with my best friend in the whole world, and totally not a godling, Toasty. Hi, Toasty.
One of those things is true.
You guys vote. You guys figure that one out.
Know exactly which one is true.
I have no idea. Either... Nah, we're not going to get into it. I'm going to be really hurt. But it'll be okay. I'll get through it. Welcome back, everybody. We are doing a Bestiary episode for the month of October, which is spooky month and the best month of the entire year. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Best month. But yeah, we're talking about Godlings. And Toasty, we were talking in the pre-show a little bit. This is kind of a difficult topic to research, it seems.
Yeah. I basically spent like 2 hours yesterday just Googling what words I could find that I think were other names for Godlings, and coming across a lot of Polish articles that didn't say them specifically and just talked about things that were similar. So
yeah, like for those of you who have listened to the show for a while, you know that when we do the Bestiary episodes, we talk about the creature in the world of the Witcher, and then we talk about like the mythological roots and some of the other cultures and things that they draw from for that creature. But it seems like there's just not a whole lot of stuff out there for Godlings. So bummer, because that's usually my favorite thing. But that's also interesting from another perspective in that this is kind of more of a complete new thing based on just the Witcher world, which is kind of cool too. So we're going to get into it. We're going to go over the Godlings and some of the different characters that we come across in the games because they don't show up in the books.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So let's get this started, Toasty. Where do we start?
Bestiary entry, as always. Not too long ago, the areas around peasant hamlets were chock full of guardian spirits. Today, it's nigh unto impossible to spot a brownie, buka, or luton, and Godlings, they are always the first to go. Such is the price we pay for civilization's forward march. From the preface to The World We Have Lost by Professor Thorgary.
Yeah, that's the things we lose. We lose the Godlings along the way.
Yeah. Godlings, sometimes mistaken for luton, are woodland creatures dwelling in burrows and moss-covered hollow stumps on the outskirts of human settlements. They are similar to children in behavior and appearance, and like children, delight in mischief. Godlings are deeply rooted in their home territory and perform acts of care and guardianship to those dwelling near their burrows. They watch over people as well as animals, but shy creatures by nature, they try to do so while remaining unseen. Godlings are drawn to joy and innocence, and so delight in the company of children, and usually only show themselves to the young.
They're like little kid monsters, which is what makes them so charming. Also, at the beginning it says Godlings, sometimes mistaken for luton. I don't believe we come across any luton in The Witcher, but a luton is a French hobgoblin type creature, short, kind of child stature, so that would make sense.
This is generally translated into like brownie, elf, fairy, gnome, goblin, hobgoblin, imp, kind of like the smaller type of like fairy creature, essentially, like things you see. I don't know why my brain just went to like the Spiderwick Chronicles. Mm-hmm. That's a call for something I haven't.
You should start a Spiderwick podcast.
No, I don't think
so.
These hardworking and clever creatures gladly perform small services for those in their care, asking only for respect and payment in the form of food or cast-off tools in return. They're easily offended by churlish, ungrateful, or simply rude behavior. Godlings also treasure their peace and quiet. When the village a godling watches over becomes too populous, or its inhabitants forget the old ways, it will abandon its burrow for good and walk off to destinations unknown.
Yeah, I love that. I love that people consider them like mischievous, but really, in some ways, they're just acting like kids.
Yeah. I mean, it's like probably like one of the, because I mean, it's like the kind of, you see the nicest that Geralt gets in the games too, as far as whenever he's dealing with them, because they're just, they he just sees them as kids too.
Yeah, but it's not like they grow up into something else. It's just like they're forever in that state. Like if you were able to take a human being and keep them from growing past childhood and just keep them in a childlike state, that's basically what they're at. But a full mature godling is still very childlike in the way they act and the way they look, which is pretty cool.
So a godling is a rare being capable of communicating in the common tongue. They typically resemble a human child, except they have big, bright eyes and pale blue skin. Some godlings are known to tattoo themselves, and they wear little when it comes to clothes apart from some adornments. Godlings usually live in woody and swampy areas and aren't afraid of living close to monsters like drowners. They are easily confused with a buka or lutin and can be hurt or killed by an herb called burdock.
And a lot of this stuff comes from stuff that actually happens in the games. This, like you come across, what's her name? Not Johnny, the other one.
Sarah.
Doesn't Sarah live near the bog?
No, Johnny lives
near the bog. I'm mixing them up. Sarah's the one in the house.
Yep. Yeah. And because you mentioned them, there are two notable godlings in The Witcher 3, Johnny and Sarah. So talk about Johnny. Johnny is a friendly godling who resembles a male human child with big, bright yellow eyes and brown hair, and has lived in Velen's swamps his whole life. He met Geralt in 1272 when the Witcher was trying to find Ciri. Johnny is much older than he looks and is either very knowledgeable or is able to do some magic, as he has helped Gran on several occasions, like finding Yagna when she got lost and breaking Jenny's fever, and all for nothing in return. He appears to also be on friendly terms with Gran, as she enjoyed his singing and regularly conversed with him.
Yeah, this whole thing plays out mysteriously. Like, who is this little creature? What is this little creature doing? But the little creature is Johnny, and Johnny is actually friendly and kind of helpful to some of these people, which creates this one of those. It's one of the earlier dilemmas you come across in The Witcher 3. I guess you could totally miss this. I don't remember if it's part of the main quest. You have to go through it
because you kind of have to deal with like Gran and the because it's where the crones are. Like it's the same. Yeah, like it's kind of the start of the crone's quest, and you have to go like deal with him. And you just like they make it out to seem like worse than it is. And you just find out that he's just a little guy.
Yeah, just a little guy, just trying to get along, and has some big feelings about stuff that happens.
Mm-hmm. Due to being childlike in appearance and sometimes his behavior, he enjoyed hanging out with the orphans and was friends with Travik, who dig up and eat snails with him.
Right.
While in Novigrad, Geralt accepted a task to investigate a haunted house where he found another godling named Sarah, who, if kicked out, would later meet and befriend Johnny. Despite thinking this was cold treatment towards Sarah, Johnny let it slide when he met the Witcher again at Bald Mountain, as otherwise the two godlings wouldn't have met and become friends.
Spoilers, but yeah, this idea that like the two of them meet is pretty cool.
No. Oh, geez. Copy and pasted the same thing.
Copy paste.
Whoops.
Yeah, the new stuff is down here. Show notes are fun.
Yeah. Oh, geez. I need to make sure that I didn't miss anything on here. Cool.
So that's most of Johnny's story, right? Like, and don't you have opportunities to choose how you deal with him? Like, I don't think you ever get a chance to kill him.
Yeah, so you don't
recall that, but you can be kind of cold to him.
You can't kill either of them. Yeah, right. You can like be, you can be cold to them, but like it's not like they treat them like children essentially, where like you are, like they are kids, and it's like how video games generally you're not able to kill children.
Right.
So it's kind of the same thing there. This is just like Johnny, you kind of just leave alone to do his thing. I mean, he's mostly harmless anyways. And then Sarah, like you can be, I think, meaner to Sarah specifically just because you can like either cast her out of the house or not. So it's kind of the worst you can get. It's really not like that bad. I do know that there's like specifically the quest, I think it's in Skellige, where eventually like you can be encountered by like this group of monsters, one of which is a werewolf. And you kind of have to like prove yourself to like be like, having the best interests at heart for monsters.
Being friendly to them. Yeah.
Yeah. Because they like these monsters confront you and they're like, we're like, they've, heard how you kill monsters and they're like, well, we're going to take you down. But then you can like argue with specific instances where you have like either let a monster go or help them or something. And I believe Sarah is one of the options where you can say like, but she was doing this thing, but I let her stay in the house because it was just like harmless. And so,
right. I'm not just a monster killer. I'm a witcher with a conscience.
Yeah.
Witcher with a conscience. That sounds like somebody's like online name. Well, while Toasty's digging back there just to make sure he didn't miss anything about Johnny, we're going to do the mid-break, thank our patrons, and we'll be back with some more information about Sarah and the little bits that we can find from real-world mythology. So don't go anywhere.
Very well. Let us get this over with. Something has infested my vineyard.
Great. Let me go prepare my something oil then.
All right, here we are in the middle of the show. We've got a new patron again this week. Big welcome to Anthony. Welcome to the Patreon. If you are interested in getting ad-free episodes or joining us at the end of the month, which we are coming very, very quickly up on, 2 weeks away. It's currently the 17th while we record this. Oh, and by the way, we are now recording the regular episodes at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, because it works better for Toasty and I do these earlier in the day. But we're going to keep the patron episodes to 9 p.m. because I know that's easier for people getting home from work and those kinds of things. So in 2 weeks, on the 31st, we will be doing our patron episode. So if you are a tier 4 or higher patron, or you sign up or upgrade to tier 4 before then you're welcome to join us. And I don't have a specific topic in mind because we haven't landed on one yet. But Witcher patrons, what do you think about talking spooky stuff? It's spooky month, and it's going to be on Halloween if it works out for everybody. So let us know. One, does that time still work out on the 31st for Halloween, or do we need to do it like a different day of the week? And two, what do you want to talk about? We could talk about spooky things. There's lots of spooky stuff in The Witcher. So send us your thoughts about that. Also, Toasty, did we do Anthony's review last week from Great Britain? Do you remember this? Because it's the same name. Yeah, I don't think we called this one out. It's dated before we did the episode, but it's sometimes this stuff shows up late in my little review feed. So Anthony, spelled the same way, I think it's probably the same person, writes, review, 5 stars. Great informative show that I have binge listened to over the past week while working. The games, show, and books are some of my favorite things in media, and so to learn more about the fascinating world is always welcome. Can't wait for more. Anthony, thank you so much for your support and for taking the time to do that. If you decide to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts with some words, we're going to read it out on future episodes. So that's how you can get your words on the show. Also, leaving us a review on Spotify, also very helpful. So thank you to everybody who takes the time to do that. And let's get talking. Let's get talking on the Discord about what you guys want to chat about and if the 31st will still work for you. So please chime in and let us know. All right, let's move on with the rest of the show.
You smell of death and destiny, heroics and heartbreak.
It's onion.
Right, yeah.
All right, we're back. So, Toasty, we got everything with Johnny? We good to move on?
This is a journal entry. This is the part that confuses me because, sometimes I ignore those. But this specifically is like the journal entry is just the story. So it's a little bit different. Like the gist of it, the part we talked about before where he was hanging out with the children over in like Crookback Bog, and basically he was sticking close because of like drowners and water hags, because like even though they can get along, he was still like
they can be dangerous. They're way less reasonable than a godling.
Yeah. And so he was having trouble, so he was kind of living near close, and then Johnny can help you convince Gran or can help convince Gran to talk to Geralt to like progress that storyline if you help him out. And then he, because of the crones, you have options here, depending on if you chose to help Sarah or not. If you do send Sarah, or well, not help, but if you send Sarah to the bog to Johnny, they are like forced to attend the Sabbath towards the end of the game with the crones, and then they like flee together and like run away.
It's interesting how much of these things actually do affect things later in the game. Like it's one of those things that you don't always realize after even playing through once or twice. And often we have a tendency to kind of pick the same things on a separate playthrough, but there are some significant differences. And we haven't talked a ton about that, but there are some significant differences in the way that things will play out, even with simple little decisions like Johnny's quest line here.
So it's just a matter of like whether or not but it is kind of the same thing of like either Johnny tells you how to get access to the mountain, or Johnny and Sarah tell you how to get access to the mountain. Right. But he is there at the end and he gives you the details to progress to fight the crones. So.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. All right, so let's move on to Sarah. She's the little one in the house. I was the first time I played through, after having the stuff with Johnny, I was very pleasantly surprised that this house ghost turned into another little godling character, because I was like, oh my god, it's another one. This is great.
Yeah. I think honestly, I like Sarah more. I think she's like a bit more endearing.
She's a little bit more kind of soft and she could use some help out, where Johnny's a little like, I'm going to do my thing and get out of my way. And then you help him out and he's like, okay, fine. You seem nice.
Yeah. So Sarah is a female godling with dirty blonde hair and blue eyes that Geralt encounters in Novigrad in a house she was haunting. In the year 1272, Geralt of Rivia was in Novigrad looking for Ciri and was told about a house where he could find a local oniromancer by the name of Corrine Tilly. Oniromancer being like someone that can like interpret and mess with
onions.
Dreams.
Oh yeah, it's dreams. It's not onionmancer.
It's not an onionmancer.
Onionmancer.
That's Geralt's. It's onion.
It's onion.
Yeah. He got to the house and met the house's owner, Rudolph de Jonkier, who had recently purchased the property and had experienced strange noises on his first night in the house, such as giggling and furniture being moved in the attic. He even found feces in the parlor.
Which is weird because ghosts don't poop. Yeah. And if they did, it would be ghost poop, not actual poop.
Yeah. Rudolph led him into the house and Geralt immediately heard Corrine suffering and making strange noises. He headed up the stairs and found her lying on a bed dreaming. He shook her, trying to wake her up, but she was in a trance. He found clues around the house and was able to find the godling Sarah in the basement, hiding in an oven. Sarah told him that she was the one who was haunting the house, which Rudolph de Jonkier had recently acquired. She had also put Corrine in the trance and was confused when Geralt told her not to give the Oniromancer a hard time, as she didn't like nightmares, to which Sarah responded that she loved nightmares, especially the really scary ones.
Yes, I love this.
Geralt told her to break the spell on Corrine, and so she did, and Geralt had a tough decision to make. Either you force Sarah to leave the house, Geralt decided it was best to get Sarah to leave, drove the godling away. Sarah later found a new home, living with another godling named Johnny, and told him about what happened in Novigrad. However, when Geralt crossed Sarah's path later on at Bald Mountain, Johnny forgave the Witcher for it only because it allowed the two godlings to meet.
Right, which is the same thing that it talked about in the other one, yeah.
Yeah, or you can let her stay in the house, and her and Corrine end up living in the house together as like a little family.
Mm-hmm. That's my canon, my personal canon ending. That's the one I did first.
That's mine too, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was just like, this is a nice little kid, you know?
Right, it's a little kid.
It's fine.
It's just scary dreams.
This old white dude doesn't need this house, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think part of it was like being nice to the godling, but definitely part of it was like, screw the old dude.
Yeah. I mean, I want to be nice to the godling, but like, I don't know. I don't have any I don't have any strong emotions about the old guy. It's like, it's whatever. He's just an old guy.
Yeah.
You don't need it.
Yeah, fine. It's crazy.
Probably.
So, okay, so let's get to the real world stuff. Like, I know you had to dig through a lot of different things. What did you find? What were you able to find?
So, and some of these things were a bit conflicting. So it was a little bit weird. But Godlings, or closest thing to find as what it's based off, Bozatko, are Polish house spirits, similar to the Russian domovoi, which we talked about in our Kikimora episode. Mm-hmm. The key distinction is that they, instead of appearing to be small, older, bearded men, they generally appeared in the form of small children. And then I immediately found a source that said that that's not the case, that they appeared to be small bearded men. And I was like, what? No,
they didn't appear to be children, but they instead were small bearded men.
Yeah, it was a bit weird.
It probably depends on the very specific tradition that you're pulling from. It probably occurred
trying to focus on
both ways,
Polish, Slavic, but
even among the Polish Slavic tradition, it probably depends on like this community in this part of Poland had this belief and this community had this belief, or even at what time period, because that stuff changes too. So there's a lot of dimensionality around the historical stuff that I think a lot of people don't think about. Like things don't just stay one way forever; they often change. So.
Another little tidbit I found was that they were some form of a proto-Slavic demon that you were supposed to feed scraps of food to on Thursdays.
So, different Slavic tradition. Demon that you feed scraps of food to on a very specific Thursdays. Not like... I don't know. You think like other days would be more prominent?
Gremlin? Like I don't.
Yeah, it's like a gremlin.
It's like a weird. And then I found close because there was also like ubosta. I think was another word that was of something that's similar. It's hard because like Polish. Another little section I found just talking specifically about like different kinds of house spirits. Just a snippet from that article. Friendly to man were devoid of aura of terror, protective house spirits. Which, by the way, this is this was a Polish page that I had to translate, so it may be a little weird.
I get what they're saying. Like these creatures are friendly to man, and they don't have an aura of terror. They don't have like when they're nearby, you don't feel scared. Like you don't have the sense of like foreboding and scariness. It's the same kind of thing that like the ring wraiths in the Lord of the Rings would do when they were nearby somebody, even if you couldn't see them. They're like they had this like aura of terror. There's feeling you just felt unease just simply being nearby them. I think that's what it's talking about.
Depending on the region, they had different names: house devil, familiar, householder, grandfather, mollusk, a leprechaun, or leprechaun.
And it's not even spelled different. That's weird.
It's weird. The most popular term in northern Mazovia was the name ubos. Once upon a time, and this is where it translates. This is what it translates to. The poor people
lived in almost every home. Like most homes were full of poor people. That would be the better translation.
That's what the term ubos, which is another word for like what these house spirits were, but it translates to poor people. So it threw me off so bad. This article was hilarious to read it whenever it said poor people. The poor people lived in almost every home, but they had to be cared for. Today is more difficult to meet them because where are they supposed to live? Behind a gas cooker or a microwave? Cold and uncomfortable. They cannot live behind
The justification this article makes is that they still exist. It's just they don't live in homes anymore because there aren't as many hidey holes in modern homes for these creatures to hide away in.
Yeah, it's great. Behind a gas cooker or microwave, cold and uncomfortable. They cannot live behind the stove where it is the warmest and most comfortable because there are no ovens.
No ovens.
And if they are, then in special rooms or in the basement. They look like little gray men.
Wait. Are we talking about aliens here? What is going on?
It's a very good, because it was a weird article, but it was great to read. Such little grandparents. These house elves were created from the souls of deceased ancestors who once lived in this house and now look after it. They care for the well-being and happiness of the household members. They help, but sometimes they mislead. Unexpectedly, they will turn off the electricity, hide various items, break the plates, and burn the soup.
Burn the soup. Martha, why is the soup burnt? That was the Ubos, I didn't cook it too long. The Ubos did it.
Yeah. They are left with the leftovers of their meals and eat well, and then to guard the house. You can also hurt them if you slam the door or hit them with a broom, then they will run away.
Okay. This is very specific. I love these kinds of articles because they're specific in very weird ways.
Yeah.
All right. They turn off electricity. They hide various items. Okay. So this is like, spirits that do spooky stuff, right? That like people don't know. I don't know what happened to, I don't know. I didn't misplace it. Right. Like, sure. Got it. Break the plates. That's a little weird. Plates just breaking on their own. Burn the soup. Seems very intentional. They are left with the leftovers of their meals to eat well, and then to guard the house. So like, I think this is what this is saying is like, if you want them to treat you well, leave them leftovers to eat, and then they'll help guard your house for you.
Maybe specifically on Thursdays. I don't know.
Maybe. You can also hurt them if you slam the door or hit them with a broom. So, okay. So if you're going to hurt somebody by slamming the door, then they have to be in the area of the door. That's not my first go-to weapon.
Well, the thing is that it doesn't specify like if you have to hit them when you slam the door.
Oh, like just the slamming of a door.
If you slam a door.
Right. They just don't like it. It hurts them.
Yeah, like hurts their feelings or like scares them or something.
The sound is loud or yeah.
Can you imagine just like having a fight and then you just like walk out, slam the door, right. And then like 2 hours later you're like, Martha, you slammed the door and now the damn Ubos is gone.
It's freaking you ran off the Ubos. How are we supposed to go out to dinner if we don't have any Ubos to watch the house? Martha. Yeah, I love this stuff. I love this stuff because it comes from some story, some person a long time ago told that has specifics that have been lost to time. And so just gets turned into, well, don't slam the door, right? It's like, what?
Yeah. It may be like, and there may be some details here that are missed out because like I had to translate this page from Polish to English, and I mean, Google Translate isn't the most reliable thing. So
sure. And Rob the Princess says there are house spirits where slamming the door hurts the house. So yeah, so like they're part of the house. So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh man, this stuff is so funny. But so much of this stuff is like justification for things that happened when you don't know what happened, or you don't want to accept the blame for it. Right. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know who burned the soup, or I don't know where I misplaced my jewelry. I swear I put it down in my jewelry box. It was not there. Somebody must have stole it, or it was a house spirit or an Ubos, like that kind of malicious thing. And it's like, no, you just forgot. You took them off when you were in the other room, put it on the nightstand, ugh. But yeah,
ADHD problems,
like just human brain problems, right? But we have to come up with these justifications because we're too proud to admit what we actually did or that we messed up or don't remember. Yeah, it's so funny. Yeah. So okay, so Godlings just don't show up in the other stuff. We haven't seen them in the books. We haven't seen them in the show.
Not to say we won't. It's entirely possible.
I think it would be really cool. Yeah,
they're honestly one of the more interesting, because it's like I do love the kind of like intelligent ones, like the monsters, especially the ones that like Geralt doesn't just straight up like kill, like the ones that he negotiates with or something. And it is cool to see that dynamic.
Yeah. I think it would be really cool to see one in the show. One of the things we talked about with the difference between season 1 and season 2 is season 2 was so focused on just moving the story forward. And in season 1, we got these episodes that were more about like setting up scenarios that Geralt has to deal with. And season 2 begins with that. We get the whole story with what's his face, the animal looking dude, and I forget the name.
Nivellen.
And that felt like more like one of those. but then very quickly got into like politics and what else is going on in the world and all of that stuff. So it'd be really cool to have at least an episode or two on this next season of Geralt just like having to deal with the situation, and a monster shows up and now he's going to deal with it, and it's a godling or it's a whatever. Yeah.
I also saw like, I think it was specifically talking about something else, like it, because this article had like a list of like a whole bunch of different things, including like talking about like Domovoy and stuff. But I don't know if it's related, but it was like the next paragraph talking about like that you can like bring one into your house yourself. Like you either have to like find one walking on a road, or, and this is such a great option. This was the best option, honestly. No, it wasn't. It was that you bury a dead fetus under your doorstep, and it will spawn one of these house spirits to protect your home.
Oh no!
Which I think,
that's
specifically
similar.
the idea of that was with the not the botchling, because they changed the name.
The botchling makes me think about the botchling though, the whole like burying of the fetus thing. Yeah,
when they bury it, but it becomes a different thing. But I can't remember the name of it at this time. But a lubberkin.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what that made me think of. But it was like, yeah, just casually bury a dead fetus under your doorstep,
right?
You know, so that someone can burn your soup now.
Yeah, that's another one of those points of like mythology that we don't hit on a lot in the modern world, is the sheer volume of child death and the dangers of giving birth and all of that. Like we don't talk about that very much in the modern world, but in these mythologies and old stories, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of people doing weird stuff. And on top of it, people just like killing their children because they just don't want to have them. Like that happened a lot in the ancient world, or even the medieval world, like until modern day stuff where that's just not okay. And like there were definitely periods in history where like that stuff was way more common and socially acceptable. So there's a lot of that kind of weird stuff that shows up in the mythologies as well. So I'm not surprised. Yeah. Creepy stuff. If you come across a godling, treat it kindly, be nice to it. It's a mischievous little thing, but it's just a little thing, not trying to hurt anybody. Just need to, talk to it and make a little deal with it. It'll be okay. Feed it some scraps on Thursday. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
That's all you gotta do. Toasty.
Eat it after midnight, I think. No.
Yeah, if it's a fuzzy little guy with big ears, that's different. So where do you think we're going to go next week? Before we got one more week before the patron episode.
I feel like it won't be. It wouldn't be like an October without, or a Spooktober without like talking about some kind of vampire.
Vampire talk. Yeah, I was thinking maybe we do another bestiary, double bestiary.
Double bestiary. I think we'll talk about a vampire though. I think. Yeah, I have to.
All right. Sounds cool. Yeah, there's lots of different types of vampires in The Witcher stuff. So cool. All right. Well, it's time to wrap it up. You got anything else going on you want to share?
Yeah. Follow us, The Witcher Lorecast, on Twitter. I am also co-hosting the Cyberpunk Lorecast. We are currently talking and almost completed our episode series on Edge Runners. Such a good show. And then I am also doing the actual play podcast, Cyberpunk apostrophe D, with the Almighty Crit and Fumbling 4 gang. So if you're interested in either of those, check those out.
Go check them out. All that stuff can be found. Links can be found at robotsradio.net for those shows, and also the other shows that I do, all the different lorecasts that I've got going on. And come hang out with us. We're doing this stream earlier in the days, again, on Mondays. Before 5 p.m., usually sometime around 2 p.m., I stream on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So come hang out. We'll be playing games. It's where the community comes to chat and get to know each other, and I get to know you as well. It's been awesome having that as a place for people to kind of communicate and hang out. It's a lot easier for me too, because if you send me a private message, it's like juggling a bunch of extra stuff, and then I feel bad if I forget to respond, and that stuff comes in at all hours. But if you can just kind of come by and hang out during the streams, the regularly Monday, Wednesday, Friday afternoon streams, then it's a lot easier to communicate. Plus, we get to talk back and forth and get to know you a little bit better. So I love to see you guys hanging out. Had a fun time today. So thanks. And that's what we got for this week. We'll see you next time. Until then.
Stay safe on the path.
All right. See you guys later. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to the Witcher Lorecast. We'd love to hear about your experiences with the games and the books and the TV series and all your thoughts on everything. Please check out the Robots Radio Discord and follow us on Twitter at Witcher Lorecast.
You've been listening to a Robots Radio podcast. Smart shows for interesting people. Check out all the shows at robotsradio.net.